Hey everyone, it's Vampy, and today on our masterclass, this is the fourth installment, we are going to be talking about glues and adhesives that I like to use, and also some recommendations for containers. I think that's super important to pretty much making sure that your glue goes onto your materials really evenly and well. So let's get started. And I also remember to bring in the cost factor for everything. But if you ever get confused, you can always hit me up, Vampy Bit me on all socials, because I got you. All right, so we're going to switch cams because I want you guys to see up close what these are. A lot of these glues that I'm going to be showing you, they're good for all ages, especially with supervision, of course, especially dealing with heat. The first thing I would like to say, depending on what kind of material you use, I would say foam is great with glue guns. A lot of people like to use stronger glues, but glue guns are amazing still, especially with foam. So I'm going to show you various types of glue guns I like to use. And explain to you why. This is an industrial strength glue gun. What it means is that it gets hotter than most glue guns. And they also have this tip here that you can change out pretty much the nozzle. You can make it more narrow or wider, depending on your project and things like that. And also, like I said, it gets way hotter than normal heat guns. Not heat guns, glue guns. Hot glue guns. This one is also another one that I like to use that has a very, very narrow tip. I like to have two different glue guns, mainly because of the fact that, it really depends on the project I have. And this one is wireless, which I think is so amazing. Having a wireless glue gun is life-changing, mainly because when the wires kind of get caught up, when you are putting it down on the table, for example, a lot of times I get really paranoid if the wires get caught somewhere and it falls off. So wire management is like one of my biggest deals when I work. So if possible, I always like to use this glue gun, mainly because it's wireless, it's more narrow, and it's portable. So if I'm running across the room and I need to glue something, I just grab this. Like I said, it's not necessary to have like a wireless glue gun. I just like to show you guys the options because I think that having a wireless one as an option for you to use during craft projects, especially if you're doing something that you need to travel with, I think having this part of your arsenal is always really awesome. And it uses regular glue sticks. And more about the industrial glue gun. These usually cost around $30 to $50. It really depends on where you buy your glue gun, but I bought mine on Amazon. I think this was around $20 to $30, and it's pretty much saved me so many times when I'm working on armor. Especially if I'm gluing two pieces of armor together, overlapping them. If I don't have a lot of time, I use a glue gun, and it works great because when you're using heat with glue, with foam, especially for armor, they melt together the foam really well and they stay. So don't be afraid of using a glue gun when you're overlapping materials. If I was to recommend it for attaching two pieces together seamlessly, the next adhesive is way, way better. But these are the two glue guns I like to use. These were bought on Amazon and they're amazing. Like I said, a wireless one is good for travel as well as walking across the room and gluing something really quick and doing detail work because of the nozzle. So I'm gonna put this away. You guys can see the brand here. Can screen capture that, and it's really cool because it has an on and off switch and also a stand. And I also like the color. I tried to buy glue guns if possible in bright colors so I don't have it like lost on my table. I actually learned this from an artist friend of mine. They were like buying tools in bright colors and I said, wow, that's really bright. Like, why did you get a neon color? And they're like, well, majority of the costumes that you make will probably white, black, red. But when do you use neon colors? And for me, not often. So this color worked out really well because I can find my glue gun really quickly. So this was great. And as you can tell, I'm a really huge fan of it because I keep on talking about it. Also, industrial strength glue gun can be used for upholstery. I think I heard this from a YouTube video. They were using industrial strength glue gun. And I was like, why is this important? And then I got, a lot of reasons, especially with upholstery and, gluing pieces together on cosplay. This is like critical because of the heat. And it could stay hot longer, and also the nozzles that it comes with. This particular hot glue gun came with about, I think, like 7 nozzles. So if I had a bigger project, the nozzle would be wider, and then it could spread the glue a lot easier for me. And it uses a wider glue stick. So I thought that was really cool. The only drawback, besides it being, like kind of big, is the wire. But you know what? You're going to have some wires, and, the easiest way to keep everything neat, especially when you're using glue, is to just use a Velcro tie or a twist tie and keep these together so it maintains a really clean and neat working area. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to be showing you guys for use is Barge. I'm sure you've seen a lot of people use Barge. I'm a huge fan of Barge. I use it for all my foam, and you can see tutorials online about all different kinds of uses for Barge, but mainly what we use Barge for, what people usually use Barge for is soles for shoes, but this also works for foam armor. I've used it lovingly. So this is the Barge. I always recommend buying Barge with thinner because a lot of times it gets really gummy. So I would recommend buying Barge with thinner side by side. I think those are great to have, especially if it's too gummy. You can drop a few, drop a little bit of the thinner into the Barge, and it's just a dream afterwards to use. This is definitely toxic. It says danger all over it. So you really, really have to be very careful when you're using Barge because it is insanely toxic. So you have to use the designated, gear as well. You want to be sniffing this. This is very toxic and it can get you really, really sick. So definitely have the right kind of mask when you're handling this material. But I love using Barge. This is one of the best materials to use for armor making. I highly recommend buying bottles that can withstand Barge in it because generally regular bottles that you can buy, the Barge will melt the bottle. So you want to make sure that you get a bottle that can put Barge in and it will not melt. So I buy these on Amazon and they're adjustable. And they're really great and they're easy to squeeze. So I like to add the Barge with a funnel into one of these bottles or these bottles right here. And I use that to spread my glue or my cement, onto my foam. So there are other ways that you can glue foam together, especially with vinyl. I'm going to be showing you guys that in my next video, but I also want to recommend another glue. This is not necessarily to glue things together, but this is for the vinyl that you want to put on top of foam. And this is one of my favorite glues. And it is pretty much all over Joann's, and I will tell you guys in the next video. So you have to actually watch the next video to know the brand because I want to show you guys how cool it is. So the most important thing for gluing foam together or any armor together is the bottles, I think. Not a lot of people recommend bottles, I've noticed. But I also like to recommend these bottles too. You can buy these on Amazon. And these are very, very amazing bottles for glue, super glue. And the tip sells it all. So these are needle bottles that I usually buy in packs of 30 or 20 or 10. And these are great for travel, and also they're disposable. But look at this nozzle. It's amazing. So you can really get in crevices with your super glue. And then the sad part about these bottles, though, I have to say, is that the glue gets suspended in there and dries quickly, and you have to always like replace them. So you definitely want to buy a bunch, because it's not always going to be clean every time you use this bottle. But it's great because it can really get in to the hard to reach places. And it comes with the cap, but sometimes it doesn't work. But I love these. So I always buy a bunch of these for gluing using for my super glues and stuff like that. Another recommendation, this is a huge one. If you're using any kind of Barge product, you definitely want to use brushes that look like this. And I'll tell you why. See, these are called acid brushes. So regular brushes, they're synthetic, right? So Barge will melt that material. So you definitely want to make sure that you buy acid brushes to spread your Barge or anything like that. And these are usually metal. And you definitely want to use an acid brush. I buy these. They come in a pack of 144. I think they cost like, I would say $20. $20, and they're actually very useful, and I go through these like all the time. So highly recommend acid pro grade brushes. They're sold on Amazon, like I said, in conjunction with your Barge cement. So you definitely don't want to forget that. And that's pretty much all I use. You don't have to buy a lot of different glues and things like that. You can just buy Barge and the thinner, and you're good to go. Or you can just use a glue gun. So I'm going to go over everything I showed you guys. I know that I went really fast, but I do want you guys to get some emphasis on my favorites, of course. So this is a wireless glue gun, right? Industrial glue gun. And this industrial glue gun has different nozzles, okay? And those two is what I use. Then we go over here with the Barge thinner, and then the Barge itself. This is the cement that glues the foam together and other various parts of your armor cosplay. In conjunction of the cement, I use acid brushes if I want to spread the glue even more. If the bottles don't do good enough job, I will use the bottle and then use a brush to spread the glue. So it could be evenly distributed and also thin enough. Because sometimes when you're just squeezing the Barge cement onto the foam part or whatever piece you're doing, you're adhering together, it tends to get really thick and takes forever to dry and might not dry properly. So I highly recommend getting a bottle and using a brush in conjunction. And also, if you're using super glue to adhere your foam together or your armor pieces, I highly recommend getting these needle tip bottles. And the smaller the better for me, I would say, because it's easier to use. But if your hands are bigger, of course, a bigger bottle. This one's 15 milliliters, and this one works great with my hands because I have smaller hands. All right, so all in all, that's all you really need for, adhering your armor together. There are various different kinds of glue out there. There's spray adhesive. I don't generally like to use spray adhesives all the time because it can be very messy, and I just feel like there's a limited use for me. So I would say if I can recommend two things for any kind of armor is, super glue, or three things: super glue, Barge, Of course, make sure you're protected. And also hot glue guns. I think those are 3 things will make your life a lot easier, and it could just take care of all your armor needs. All right, and the next and last video is coming up. All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Bye guys. Bye.